Three, two, one. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Failure Friday, where we talk to friends, families, co-workers, sometimes clients, and then sometimes complete strangers about how failure has shaped them in their career, their personal life, and their family life, and how it's made them better. The whole point of this podcast is to help small businesses brand themselves, to get their name out there, but also to help people that are trying to break into an industry or people that know someone trying to break into an industry. It's all about giving back to the community and helping the people around us, even our Instagram families. And today we have someone from my Instagram family. We have Joseph Francis. He's an independent financial advisor with Canada Life out of Ontario, Canada. Surprisingly, he's in the same time zone. That took me a little bit off guard. It's not freezing there. I asked him about the weather.
No.
I'm going to talk shit about how cold it is there and how hot and lovely it is here in Florida, but it's also the same temperature, so that's no fun either. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, Joseph. I mean, I asked him to give me an intro to talk about. He goes, financial advisor. It's like two words to work with.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
So
No,
go ahead.
First off, thanks for having me, Kendall, because I've been following you for quite a long time. And one thing I will say is this: we're both Ramsey Certified, so love that. Amazing. So thank you for having me, and thanks for reaching out. In terms of the weather, yeah, it's the same temperature now, but like I mentioned before, we went on cam. It's going to get nasty in a minute. So yes. We're gonna wear the shorts today, but next month it's the parka and the toque. But yeah, so it's nasty. You don't want to deal with this. My team goes down to Jacksonville to play your Jaguars soon, so I think
Who's
I might
your
go.
team?
Dallas Cowboys, baby, America's team. It's not my team; it's America's team. So that being said, I've been in the. Oh, yeah, exactly. So for me, I've been in the industry about 6 years now. I created my page Budget Boss shortly thereafter. So we're coming up on 6 years for that in March. For me as a financial advisor, 6 years. And I come from the service industry, went back to school, did the education, did everything I needed to do to become a valid financial advisor. And so I've been at it for a long time. Well, not long in terms of the industry. It feels like forever for me, but at the same time, it also feels like it just started yesterday. So for people in the industry that haven't been in it like 25 years, like us, it's new challenges every day, new things going on, and new ways to try and help clients. And that's why I'm kind of happy to talk to you.
Yeah, I was interested before, I guess I just assumed, wrongly, don't assume, guys, that
it's fine.
Your path into our industry is very similar to my path. And in America, there's only a couple main paths that people take into this industry. Mm-hmm. One, they either immediately go work under as like an office assistant or some kind of data entry specialist at a branch under a financial advisor, and they just slowly work their way in. That financial advisor's branch will sponsor them to get licensed. Or you go work for a major wirehouse, like one of the big names, and then you work your way up that way. Or you just kind of jump in like I did, and you just fuck up your way to the top.
Yeah.
One step in front of the other. So I guess I just assumed, like, one of my first questions is, which path did you take? But before the call, you kind of told me that it's a little bit different over there. So why don't you educate us a little bit about the different paths on your side of the border to get to what you're doing and which one you took?
Yeah, and like everything you just said there rings so much truth to me. So for me, in Canada, basically it's probably similar to the States in the sense that we got the big banks, we got the big investment firms. You come out of college, you join one of them, and then you work your way up in that way. And then there's independent advisory houses that will take you in. And at those places, you'll often jump in like head first and like you said, fuck up a lot. And then it becomes a situation where it's like, okay, well, you're fighting for scraps. But then the other side of it is like you join that, big bank or whatever, and you're making a salary, which is nice and all, but you don't have the independence. So you're trading one for the other. So what I basically did here is I joined a company where we have an independent advisory that needs to be housed by someone. And ultimately, your success is dictated based on the production that you have, which is scary, but also compelling to people who want to try and achieve more and whatnot. So the problem with it that can occur is oftentimes is that the people who join this type of role, and I come from a class of 23 people during that new initiation period where only 2 of us survived. So it's very difficult, very, very difficult. And that's where it's like, well, you can go get the 9 to 5, you can go do that and make X salary, but you're also kind of limited in terms of how your upward mobility. Whereas if you're willing to bet on yourself, so to say, you can, supersede that in the same amount of time.
Here's the problem I have with that model, though, because it reminds me a lot of like the Eddie Jones. I don't know if you're familiar with Edward Jones here in the States.
Well, we have it here in Canada.
You do?
I don't know if it's quite the same, though. I don't know if it's quite the same.
Well, Edward Jones has the reputation in our industry as having the best training for new advisors. Like that, when I came into the industry, and I was like, all right, I've known that I was going to do this since I was a kid. I've known I was going to do this, but when my dad was educating me on there's different ways you can do it. Which way do you want to do? He educated me on a similar model that you're just talking about, and I call it the Edward Jones model. And they were notorious for making all of their new advisors go door to door. Like they drop you off in the middle of nowhere, you go door to door, and that it's brilliant in the way that it teaches you how to take rejection well and how to sell.
Because you're gonna get it.
And then, especially today. But what that did, and what I found, and I'm sorry if you're an Edward Jones advisor and
I'm not, so don't worry
yet. Or watching this, but what I found, the error with that model is that you become a really great salesman. And I found that some really successful financial advisors, to be successful as a financial advisor, period, you have to have some acumen in sales. But I found that when you're compelled to perform to survive, you become more, your strength is sales, but perhaps your heart's not in the right place all the time. Because if you got to perform to put food on the table, how in reality can you be a fiduciary at the same time?
You basically just shot a bazooka at the industry, which is 100% correct. Like, you're not wrong. You are 100% correct. And it's devastating when you think about it, because ultimately that's where I was, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I got to put food on the table. Like, what else? How great of an advisor can you be if you can't provide for your own family? Like, you just can't. You're not useful to anyone. And ultimately, the problem with it is that the industry itself is that it leans to that, right? It leans to that, and because it's based on production, it's based on volume, and I get why it is. It should be, in a sense, but the people that have that in their pocket, like, it sounds like yourself. I know that's where I'm from. Those are the ones that often make the best advisors. And it's sad that a lot of the great ones that start off with that mentality to help everyone, with the Ramsey mentality, with like, this is what I'm going to do and help people, they don't make it specifically because they can't pay their bills in the first few years.
Yeah, I think a lot of financial advice, I guess the thought of when people associate financial advisors, they think of lawyers, doctors, financial professionals, financial advisors, and they think of success, or they get paid a lot of money. And the truth is, so many financial advisors die out in the first 3 years. So many.
It's
most of
like
them.
95%. It's not even fucking close. Like, unbelievably. Like, the rate of failure is it's silly when you think about it, right? Because it's actually a lucrative job and a valuable job, in my opinion. Like, I'm very proud of what I do. But at the same time, there's good people I've met that just leave, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging, and that's why I was excited. So first, you're one of the first, my last podcast episode, and you were the first financial professionals that I've had on the podcast. And at first I was like, I mean, this is weird, right? Because we do the same thing. I'm like kind of talking to my competition in a sense. But then I was like, wait, this is the first time I can really fillet open this fish and we can talk about the challenges. Because there's a lot of financial, not everyone that, I would say most of the people that follow me are in the financial industry. So they're not necessarily consumers of what I do, but more so they're educators. And we're kind of feeding off. So it's good to talk about these challenges with people. And I'm also interested in Canada, what type of fee structures do you have? Is that similar to the fee structures we have here in the States, which is commission and then fee-based?
Yeah. And there's, as a financial advisor, there's several services I provide. I manage money. That's a big one. Obviously, that's what pays the bills. I sell insurance. I get mortgage referrals. But in terms of, like, let's focus on the managing money side of it, because the insurance side of it is a bit more cut and dry. The managing money is what confuses people. So let's focus on that. So in terms of managing money, the company gets their share. I get my share. The more I manage, the more I make. And ultimately, the more I build my book of business, and the better I manage money, the more money I will make. And obviously that's an incentive to me. In terms of, I manage mutual funds. I believe in mutual funds. I'm a mutual fund advisor. I believe in them for a specific reason, because I believe that managed money is over the long term better than unmanaged money. That being said, though, if you're going to go on a 12-year bull run, people are going to say otherwise. Right now, managed money is quite frankly outperforming unmanaged money. That being said, yeah, I take my piece. I have my half a point, and that's how that kind of works. The company gets half a point, I get half a point. It depends on the fund. There's a lot of different gray areas that exist with that. But the one thing about it with my clients is I'm quite transparent about what I get paid. And the funniest thing about it is that when I tell them what I get paid, they're surprised how little it is. Like, I have clients that,
like, oh, that's it?
They have $100,000 with me, and they're like, oh, you make $500 a year? It's like, but every time I call, you answer. Every time I need something done, you're there. When my cousin's confused about something, you answer that. It's like, the funny thing about it, there's a narrative that goes on in the industry right now with financial advisors, is that we're grossly overpaid. And rightfully so, in a sense, because there's many lazy advisors that are grossly overpaid.
Fucking many.
Yes.
So many.
Yes. So here's the issue with it. The one thing that people don't understand about financial advisors is this. If you're a good one, half of your job is battling the battles.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because honestly, like, I deserve my pain. I don't feel bad about talking about it. But at the same time, though, when I tell people, oh yeah, this is what I make, and they're like, that's all you made off me? I'm like, well, yeah, because I want you to have more than I make more. Like, it's simple in my mind. it's not that simple in many people's minds, because the big issue with it is that we're dealing with people that are jaded by the industry. Rightfully so, though. Rightfully so. So you got to be different, or else you're the same. So,
I spend a lot of time, I would say, a lot of the prospects, especially that come through Dave Ramsey, are surprised when we have our intro call. I would say over 50% of the people I talk to, I'm like, you're not ready to pay for this. A financial advisor is not, and I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm not saying it because I don't want their business. Of course I want their business. I say it because we are not the cheap solution.
No.
We're not. Like this, just like with a nanny. Like I have a nanny, and her and I have a great communication style where she discusses with me how other nannies are mistreated in our industry and how they settle for so much less. And she says, people just assume that like a nanny is, it's the equivalent to daycare. No, the nanny is the more expensive option, and that's for a reason. You're getting more personalized service. You have someone coming to your home. It's the same thing with a financial advisor. We are not appropriate for everyone. Investing when you're first starting out is supposed to be simple. Go to an advisor and get a financial plan done. Call someone and pay an hourly fee, but you don't need someone managing your money on a daily basis if you're just starting out with $500. You need someone to teach you how to do it yourself. So I spend a lot of time turning away people, and they end up coming back later because they're like, thank you so much. You saved me like $3,000, and now I'm at a place where I can take this next step.
Yes.
So when you said that resonated with me a lot. You spend a lot of time as an advisor selling against bad ones, especially in a recession.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And you know what? That's why content's so important. That's why, like, someone like you who's constantly producing content, I'm trying my best to constantly produce content, is that person who just basically needs to see what to do, not necessarily speak to an advisor when they have $0. Like, I have clients that are in mountains of debt. I have clients that have millions of dollars. It's all over the spectrum. But the person who is in mountains of debt needs a certain specific type of conversation to happen. And I'm willing to have that with them. But they're going to go to XYZ advisor and pay for that, where I'm like, you know what? Maybe I just produce content where, like, do this. And then you'll be ready for the investment advice that someone such as yourself provides. Right. And that's why I think, like, that's why when, when people knock Dave Ramsey, it's like, okay, well, if 50% of the population is living paycheck to paycheck, is he that out of touch? No, he's not. He's right on the fucking money, specifically because he knows the audience, and most of the audience needs this type of debt counseling, cash flow counseling. And I'm sitting with people who make $200,000 a year, and they need that.
Oh yeah. Oh, that blows my mind. People think that living paycheck to paycheck is for someone that makes $40,000 a year.
Not even close.
I know people who have a household income of multiple hundred, like $300,000, $400,000, that are still $500,000 behind where they should be in their retirement savings. They're still living paycheck to paycheck. They have credit card debt. It's, especially in our country, I don't know about yours, it's cool to live outside of your means until it isn't.
I'll take credit for this. Well, I'm not taking credit for it, but Canada, we have the most household non-secured debt in the world. Like, wow. That's line of credit and credit card debt. Not based on mortgage debt. Like, mortgage debt's mortgage debt. But Canada, yeah, we're indebted up to the tits. We're toast. Right? Like, and people don't understand it. And
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
We do. We actually do. And you would think it would be America. Like, America wins at most things, right? But, like, yeah, it's Canada. It's Canada. We have so much unsecured debt. It's just floating debt, and people just live this way. And it's
awful.
It's awful, right? But then, it's a guy like me, I'm like, just like, yeah, that's, if you only do one thing, do that, get rid of that, right?
What were some of the early struggles in your journey of entrepreneurship? Did it have to do with debt?
Me? No, I got rid of my debt before I went that route. I had some cash built up, which was good. I started my entrepreneur road when I was about 32. I had about $50,000 worth of student loan / consumer debt tied with student loans, right? Like, so you got student lines of credit and all that crap. And then a couple credit cards that were silly. So I started getting rid of that at the age of 26. Finally got rid of that. It took 5 years of hardcore attempting to get rid of that. And I also put my girl at the time through school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a thing, right? But I didn't want her to deal with what I dealt with. Like, you know, we're not together anymore. I wish her the best. But at the same time, like, to me, it's like, yeah, I dealt with that shit. Hopefully you don't. And she didn't. I hope.
Because of you.
Right? Well, not because of her though. She had her brain though. Like that's her. It's not me, right? Like when you have opportunity, you hopefully give those opportunities to others. So that being said though, like, yeah, I decided, you know, when I hit a plateau with the career that I had, I'm like, it's never gonna get bigger than this. So I took a leap of faith, and I also understood that there was unlimited income potential with what I'm attempting to do, what I do right now. But at the same time, it's gonna be very difficult, like very difficult. So the biggest hurdles were perception. There's a lot of perception. I'm sure, you know, I don't know what it's like with the firm that you're with or what you deal with on a regular basis, but I'm sure I'm sort of out of the model of what it is to be, you know, I'm not a suit dummy. I don't do those things. So I think in terms of escaping that perception of the old school financial advisor that basically is like, this is what you are. You're, you know, 6'1" white guy, slick back hair, mom and dad go to the country club. Like, that's not me. It's never what I've been. And to try and escape that model, because when you first step your foot in that door, it's never going to go well. And it didn't. It just didn't, right? But, you know, I have thick skin. I don't give a shit, quite frankly. You know, I just don't. But at the same time, though, I also knew that I knew, like, what I was trying to do, and I wasn't afraid. And I think those were the biggest things. Like, you know, when you walk in the office, I mean, I don't walk in the office wearing a t-shirt. I don't. But at the same time, though, like, I walk in the office. Well, good for you. Well, now I do. But when I was
who I'm meeting with. Honestly.
Exactly. But when I first started, I didn't, because I didn't know. First of all, I wasn't meeting with no one because no one was talking to me. But that being said, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to, you know, be professional, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so getting past that, it's like, this guy ain't one of us. And that's a fucking thing. Like, it's a big thing, right? And that it crumbles you or it doesn't. Like,
what was your career before this?
I was a bartender.
Okay, so you knew how to talk to people, though. You
knew
how to make people.
I got recruited out of that to this.
Oh, you were recruited.
Yeah. Legit.
What did that look like? You made some slick back guy whose mom and dad went to country club and drink.
I was serving.
You're a trash bartender. Come work with me.
No, they're like, you're good at what you do. You can do what we do. Just get your school up. You can do it. That's it. And so, I'm like, I watched that for a year. I'm like, nah, man, I make good money. I don't need that shit. And then I'm like, okay. And I started to see, like, what they actually do for a living. I'm like, no, I can do this. Like, I'm smart enough. I got the skills. I can talk to people. I care. That's a thing. That's everything. That's not a thing. It's the only thing. Do you give a shit? Well, yeah, I do. And that was what the independence with it too, because like the biggest thing about me that I always worried about is that someone else controlling my paycheck, and I don't want that. I can't have that. I can't have that. I'd rather be dead. Like, I can't have that.
What was the next step you took? What was that first step you had to take, the first barrier you had to get over, hurdle you had to jump?
I had to, the hardest part, and that's the thing that took the longest, the hardest part was deciding that although I'm making really good money, I'm meant for something more. And that's hard, right? Because it's egotistical when you think about it, right? Like, it's egotistical where you're like, okay, well, like, I'm doing really good and I got a lot of cash and life is good, but I can't get a mortgage because, you know, I make a lot of tips, and that's not, a bank don't give a shit about that. CRA don't care about that. Like, that's your IRS is CRA with us. So yeah, it's like you get over that comfort level of like, okay, I'm very comfortable now, but I also know this is the ceiling and I'll never be above that. And not only that, quite frankly, as time goes on, it's only going to get worse for me.
Oh, wow.
It's only going to get worse for me because, you know, your body breaks down. Like, you got to understand the environment that you're in. And then if you actually think that you can do, you know, if you could do the job, right? If you could do the job, you have the knowledge, you have the skills, you have the effort to follow through on that. And that's not easy. It's not easy. And it's not supposed to be easy though either. Like, it's supposed to be hard. Since when is good things supposed to be easy?
So the first hurdle for you was just deciding to do it, from going from
yeah, it took a year, Kendall.
It
took a year, Kendall. A year.
But then what? Do you go get licensed? Do you have to get a job? What does that look like? What's the next step into the industry?
So what I did was I went and got licensing. I went to school, so I still stayed with my bartending job for a year, working full-time at that, but also doing education for a year to get my certifications and my licensing and read up on the industry, understand what I'm doing. And then even when I took the jump, like when I actually became part of the industry, I still kept the bartending part-time. And I got judged for that too. And that was the thing, right? And that's okay, right? Because like, I didn't do it because I wanted to, you know, like, I cared, but I didn't, because my bills take precedent over anyone else's opinions of me. I literally don't give a shit. But at the same time, like, yeah, for the first couple of years I was in the industry, it's not easy to find clients. It's not easy to build a book of business. It's not easy to sell insurance to people who look at you a certain way. Mm-hmm. And if I'm, you know, the best bartender in the world, that's what I am. But then all of a sudden now I'm selling insurance and managing investments. People don't think of it that way. And it's hard to flip that script, right? It's hard to flip that script on people, but I wasn't going to give up. But I also wasn't not going to not pay my bills during that period of time. So
what
I got judged on that.
Though? What stopped that though? Eventually you had to quit being a bartender. Like, was it just confidence after a while?
When my income caught up. When my income caught up, I had the confidence. I'm like, you know what? I'm good at what I do. I know what I'm doing. I'm great at what I do. And I don't need that anymore. And in fact, it's holding me back.
How long did it take for your income to catch up? And do you feel like bartending was holding you back? 3 years. 3 years. I would say that is pretty much on point with advisors in the States. Like 3 years, especially. So for those of you who don't understand how industry works, a lot of times, I would say the most common way that people enter our industry is they go and they work for another financial advisor who's already more established at their branch, their RIA, their independent practice. And they're given a base salary. And then slowly that base salary goes away. And it's usually a 3-year salary. That starts at, like, when I started, it was like, it starts at 40, and then it goes down $5,000 every year until it gets to like 25, and then it's just cut. Yeah, ours, we're thrown right in the friggin' fire, right? And the funny thing about it too is, like, you know, the stories of my first instances in the industry that, like, I'll never tell anyone, right? Like, it's like, you know, I took buses to meetings, like, you know, in Canada, that's a thing. Like, you don't do, it's like -20. Like, you don't take a bus to a meeting, right? That's humbling. That's humbling, though, right? Like,
yeah,
you'll remember that the rest of your life.
Those clients are still with me, right? And not only that, though, they don't know who they are. But that being said, their whole family are clients, right? And ultimately, I think what makes you great at this also makes you great at life. And I think the things that you want for your clients to be great with are the same things that you want to be great with your practice, right? And if that means that, you know what, like, you drive a couple hours to get a piece of paper signed, then you're doing it, right? And our industry has lost that, and that's what's sad. And that's why I'm willing, you know, I'm very thankful to talk to you, but yeah, I'm wearing a t-shirt. And you know why? Because I respect you in the sense that you understand authenticity, and my clients respect that now too. And it's difficult when you first start to have that, because everyone's battling you and saying, like, you need to be this, you need to be that. Well, you know what you need to fucking be is honest. That's it. Like, literally.
Yes.
Literally.
Because Dave Ramsey, and he has this, like, little worksheet that he gives people to kind of help them with the intro meeting that they have with people like us. And I'm thankful for it, because, I mean, obviously, if you have the worksheet, I know you have the worksheet, I know how to answer every fucking question. So one of the questions on there is, what is your philosophy? What makes you different? And one of the first things I put is transparency, because at the end of the day, I am so thankful, and I don't want to sound arrogant saying this, but I am so thankful to be in a position where I don't need this job. I do this because I love it, because it's easy for me, because I call it my second language, and because I enjoy it. I choose this over spending time with my kids, spending time with my husband. That's because I get great joy out of it. But as soon as I stop enjoying it, I'm not going to do it anymore. Yeah. So protecting that space as I've gotten more experience, more confidence, building my own practice is so important to me. Looking back, and this was a question I was going to ask you, what do you know now that you wish you knew then? Because if we're talking about failure, and what you put on what you want to talk about is failing early on my business. What I failed on, it still makes me cringe thinking about it, is I gave so much time, so much effort to people who did not appreciate it. And eventually I'd resent them for it. And I think a lot of people, no matter what you're doing, do this early on in their business. They deliver too much because they are not confident. They are insecure about something. Mine was my age and my level of experience. I felt like I had, before someone even asked, I felt like I had to explain why I was so young. And how I would start that conversation was, I'll meet you on a Saturday at a mall that's 45 minutes from my house before you give me any money. And I'll do a whole financial plan that took me 6 hours before you're a client. Oh, I get so mad at myself thinking about that, because if I had valued my time earlier, and what I found out when I got more confidence is I was doing the same fucking plan that I was spending the same 6 hours doing. Yeah. But now you're paying for it before you get it. And I found that the people didn't change. They just appreciated, they valued that more because they paid for it. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I think, I think
what you like everything you just said there, and I've gone through it all. Like, so for me, I think what you just said there is that, no offense, you figured it out. You figured people out, because people are people. People are people no matter what Kendall does. People are people no matter what Joe does. People are people. There's people that are going to appreciate the work that you put in. And those are the people that are referring their friends to you on a regular basis. And you know what? Like, I have people right now that are just literally handing me checks. And I'm like, I used to like die for this, and now you're just giving it to me, and it's because of the work that you put in. So I think what you're also understanding is how your worth, you're getting you understand your worth, and that you are valuable. And when you first start, you don't know that because you haven't helped out shit, and you want to help. And the difference is like, do you become jaded and a piece of garbage advisor, or do you just stick with it? And you just gotta stick with it, or you don't, and you hurt everyone else. And that's it. Like, it's not that confusing, because when you look at society in general, when you look at everything in general, people either stick to what they're doing, and if they have a good heart, they're going to keep a good heart no matter how. And Ramsey says it too, whether you're rich or poor, doesn't matter. When you're rich, it doesn't change who you are. You just become more of an asshole or more of a good person. And when you're a new advisor who has a good heart, you either let the industry destroy you, or you keep that good heart, but you get smarter and you help more people. And that's what it sounds like where you're at.
Yeah, well, I guess looking back at where we came from and when we started, that's what I wish I knew. And that's what I try to tell people, because a lot of my clients are exactly what you just described yourself. They're people that have something they know, but on the side, they're doing something they want to know. And they get to this pivotal stage where they're like, well, I mean, I either have to make this jump so I can make more money and have more time to do this thing that I'm learning because I'm actually getting good at it, but then that means I gotta leave what I know. And I see them go through the same thing where they want, well, you know, I've only just started, I'll charge less. No, keep that job a little longer until you get confident in your price structure. There's no shame in having two jobs. It actually makes you better at the one you're trying to become.
Yeah, but in our industry, though, they don't act like that shit. Like, one of the most important, or not important, one of the most, like, horrible incidents I had is, like, I'm at the office, and then, you know, I go bartend, like, you know, I was working literally, like, 70 hours a week. You know, 30 on the bar, and then, like, 40 doing the advisory job, right? And one of the things that really hit me is when, like, I'm at the office shooting the shit with the people, the other advisors, and then run home, change out, get into the bartender uniform, and then all of a sudden, the worst thing that ever happened, Kendall, is that these MFs come and they go get a drink where I'm working. And I'm like, God. Like, no literally half an hour later, and I'm like,
I would shit my pants if that happened.
Yeah.
Would you say? Did they say anything to you?
No, hey Joe, we just saw you a minute ago, and I'm like, yeah, you did. Right? But, like, what do you do, right? And you know what? Like, what do you do? And
you own it. What do you mean, what do you do?
I own it, and you know what was the best at that? And you know what? Like, I make more than all of them now, so who gives a shit, right? Like, ultimately, it's not how you navigate through this as an advisor, Kendall, and how I navigate this through as an advisor is the same thing that your clients need to navigate through their own life, how they feel about everything they're dealing with. It's the same with the news right now. It's the same with everything. Bear market, bullshit, recession. Like, it's the same. I was going through my own recession. Like, I was going through a recession. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go through a recession and jump off a cliff, or am I going to keep going? That's
it gives you character. It makes you relatable. I mean, that's something that I would pull out, that example, and I would tell clients about it. When
it wasn't a fun day. It wasn't a fun day.
No, but it makes you relatable. I mean, everyone, especially when they're going through that awkward transition where they want to trust, they know they need someone to manage their money, but it takes a lot of trust to give over management of your life savings, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's something that is real. That someone can be like, yeah, like it took me struggle to learn how to do this effectively. This is my story. And this is where I'm at now. And this is why I can help you more, because I've had these trust issues. I couldn't let go of this job because I was scared to fail and take this leap to fully commit to this job. And this happened, and this was a sign. Like this is what happened to me that was like, all right, it's time. Or it's almost time. Or it's not time. But I gotta keep doing this because this is what I want to do.
Well, and it's paying dividends now, right? And it's the same thing with you, right? Like, and that's the issue with it, right? Like, so if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. That's it, right? Like, so ultimately, you know, things don't happen in my life based on the fact of like, oh, trajectory, this is what we're doing. No, it's gotta flow with a certain rhythm, not because of society, not because of this, not because of what everyone else thinks. I literally don't give a shit about that. But at the same time...
See, I do. I care a lot about what other people think. It's
why?
On that. I don't know.
Why?
I just think it's like in my DNA. I'm working on it though. I do. I care a lot about perception, which is funny because my personality like lacks a major filter. Like I feel like I might be a little bit on the spectrum, but I have a big personality. I say a lot of bullshit. I have strong opinions, but then afterwards, if somebody's like, oh, you know, she came off like a lot, or she came off pretty strong, I'm so offended. How could you not like me? But
yeah, that's tough, right? It's tough, but that's also part of life, right? Like it's also trying to figure out like dynamic people make dynamic advisors. That's it. Like it's the same thing. It's like dynamic people make dynamic teachers in school. Dynamic people make dynamic doctors in a hospital. Are you dynamic or are you not? And like ultimately, if you're a dynamic person, then be a dynamic advisor. And it sounds like that's what you're striving to be. There's good and bad with that because I'm a brash ass motherfucker. But the biggest issue with it is that like I got my clients back and they know that. They know that. I got their back. I'm battling insurance companies, I'm battling wealth companies, I'm battling people all day, every day, so they don't have to. And that's it. That's all there is to it. You got their back or you don't. And that's what we do. Like, that's literally what we do. We make them money so we can hopefully make some money too.
Yeah, we succeed, and that's how my fee structure is set up. I make less money when you make less money, which really fucking sucks during a recession because I have no control over that. So like they're like, yeah, my account's down. I'm like, yeah, my income's down. So I mean,
you don't you think I like waking up in the morning and seeing like 20% dip in my book of business? Like, not cool, not fun. No, it hurts my monthly cash flow, but at the same time, I don't worry about that because I know we're coming back. I'm like, you know what? Do you got more money? Pump it in. Let's go. This is what we should be doing.
I was just talking about this with a client today. It is fascinating to me. I forget who I was talking to, and they used this analogy. This is my first, obviously I remember 08, 09, 010. I remember that. I read about it excessively, but there's nothing like actually experiencing it as a professional, as an adult, with my own money, with other people's money. And the hardest part, and this, by the way, this recession is going to weed out so many advisors, which I'm happy about because we're oversaturated in this industry. But what I've also found fascinating is if you are someone that loves hamburgers and you eat a hamburger every fucking meal, what do you want for the price of hamburgers? You want the price of hamburgers to go down.
50 cents. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you ask anyone, what do you want for the stock market? Well, we want it to go up. I mean, the psychology just totally reverses. I mean, these
isn't it kind of poetic? Isn't it kind of poetic though, watching this in firsthand? I've been at this shit 6 years, right? Like, so I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, I saw a Brexit that didn't, like, COVID was like super inflated, Biden pumping money, we got Trudeau in Canada pumping money. It's like, it was a weird, it didn't actually work like it should have. But now we actually got an actual recession, an actual turn down of the economy. And it's like, it's funny to watch people, including my fucking family. And I'm like, listen, you're down 15%. That sucks. Why would you lock in a 3% GIC right now when all you need to do is allow the market to come back? If it takes a year, if it takes 2 years, 15% over 2 years is better than 3% over 2 years. Like,
I have people down a lot more than 15%. You must have them in a very diverse.
No, I got some people that are down like 20, 25, right? But at the same time, like, ultimately it's like, okay, well, maybe in January of 2022, we shave off and put it in a GIC. Cool, great. But at this point, like, this is not the time to do that. That is a fault. No, but yet people are doing it. They're doing it, and it's funny, not funny, haha, funny, oh my God, where it's like, it shows you that people just make wrong moves and how valuable you are as an advisor, Kendall, because I'm talking people off the ledge every day. And it's
it sucks so bad. I hate it. And it's been such an educational growth moment in my career, is having to have these hard conversations on a daily basis. And it's made me practice more. It's showed me that I need to get training in sales and empathy, because sometimes I just want to, every time I will just throw logic at their face. I'm like, look, yeah, Biden and his administration, they fucked up, but at the end of the day, we're due for a recession. We have to have recessions. They are literally part of the market cycle, and we're pretty damn due for one. It's been how long we've been in a bull market?
13 years now.
The longer we wait, the worse it's going to be. If anything, he did us a favor by expediting its arrival so we can get the fuck through it. Hopefully it won't be another 08, but if it is, it's fucking here. Get your cash up.
Yeah,
it won't be. I don't think it will be.
No.
Because of its expedition. It's here. It came earlier than it was supposed to come because of the foolish mistakes, but it's here.
And I mean, ultimately, the biggest thing about it is that, it's the same, like, I know you follow the things, like, you understand the way things go. You look at, like, a guy like Warren Buffett, don't bet against America. That's the beauty of America. Like, America, like, yeah, this guy sucks. He's going to be gone in 4 or 8 years. That's it, right? So it doesn't really matter. None of it really matters. What actually matters, when shit gets this convoluted and so silly, what actually matters is literally the guy that you and I both follow is someone like Dave Ramsey, who's like, debt down, cash up, invest regularly, buy insurance to protect your shit. That's it. If you do all that, you have a good chance of succeeding. If you don't do that, the world can dictate your fate. And you know what? Ultimately, with everything that's going on in the world right now, like, it makes more sense now than it ever did. It's like, people are knocking Ramsey right now, and they should be embracing him right now. What? Because he's Christian? Like, fuck off. Like, get real. I'm not Christian. I'm not religious at all. And I love the guy. Has nothing to do with any of that.
I am Christian, and I love him not because he's Christian, but because he is so. Yeah, his advice isn't going to apply to everyone. He's speaking to his audience, which he has a massive one, and he has helped millions of people. If it doesn't apply to you, then keep it moving. I mean, I don't agree with everything he says. I agree with most of what he says, but you can't argue with the results. You cannot argue with the 10 people that I'm meeting with on a weekly basis that find me through his program. That's how big his brand is. I'm getting at least 10 to 20 people every week coming in my office from his referral program that he has helped, that he has touched, that he has inspired, that he has freed from whatever prison that their foolish actions have got them in or that they inherited. And you can't make that shit up. So, I mean...
No, and you can't. You know what's so funny about it? We don't have SmartVestor Pros here in Canada. We don't have that game. But at the same time, though, we have Ramsey groups, and I'm getting people reaching out to me through Ramsey groups. Not specifically because I'm Ramsey certified, but specifically because I believe in Ramsey principles. And you know what? If you're going to, to me, it has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with anything. But if you're going to pick on one thing that literally doesn't mean anything and ignore the fundamentals that, by the way, helped me get out of debt, helped me get to where I'm at right now, I'm like, okay, cool. Then maybe you're not the type of person I want to talk to anyway. And you know what? Ultimately, I hope that those people who ignore those fundamentals specifically because of a certain edge of him that they do not like, I hope they find their own financial peace. But this is where I'm going. And you know what? I'm 95% of the way with him. The 5% that doesn't apply to me, cool. And I totally get it. Like, you're from a different area than I'm at. I deal with different things. Yeah, the respecting, taking care of your fellow human that he respects, I'm all over that. Whether you call in the name of Christianity or you call in the name of something else, fuck yeah, it's awesome. Okay, it's awesome, and it's not awesome. And anyone that says otherwise to me is foolish. So I'm not dealing with that shit. I'm not gonna even, to me, I'm not even gonna like pay it any time of mine, because you know what? This guy's helped millions of people get out of debt, get to where I'm at right now, and now I'm at this place right now where I want to help others. So yeah, I think that's a good thing. And if you don't think it is, good luck.
Yeah, we align there. I mean, I definitely think that my favorite part of Dave Ramsey is just he is unapologetically Dave Ramsey.
And rightfully so.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care about, if the pay off your house thing is outdated. He doesn't care. He's going to say the same thing every time. He's going to give the same advice every time. And people are still going to eat it up because it's still helping thousands of people.
Yeah, but how about that pay off your house thing with the variable rate mortgages right now? Like, how's that looking?
Oh, yeah. Well, in our country, it's mostly fixed. In Europe, and I'm guessing in Canada, it's mostly variable rate. Or are you mostly fixed?
We're half and half. We got a half and half, right? But like, yeah, people with variable rate who were taking money out of their home equity loans to invest are now getting their asses kicked right now. So the fundamentals are the fundamentals, right? And this is what we're dealing with right now. And like, it's kind of poetic. It's kind of poetic where a guy like Ramsey is like, yeah, well, maybe you're right. I told you
not to do it.
Maybe you're right all along.
Yeah, I hear you. I appreciate him. I mean, honestly, my practice, I wouldn't have been able to build it the way I built it without him. I wouldn't have. I mean, his branding, his referral program, his coaching calls, like they have. And at first his entire referral program has evolved since it's been 4 years I've been a part of it. At first I was disappointed. I'm not going to lie. I was disappointed because you get on the call. I had this whole thing laid out of like why I should be a Ramsey SmartVestor Pro. I had this whole presentation. They were like, hey, can you pay the fee? And I was like, yeah, I can. But, I got this whole, they're like, it doesn't matter. But then I would say as the years went by, they were getting feedback that, hey, like this person really wasn't in it to help me. And they started making, you had to attend the coaching calls. Now you get rated by a coach. You get rated by the people that come in. And I'm so thankful for that because the quality of people that are coming into these coaching calls, the quality of SmartVestor Pros, the quality of the prospects that come through, everyone it's all meshing together. It's all aligning. It's all making sense. So I'm so thankful that there's not many programs, there's not many companies that are as large as Dave Ramsey or that have a reach as large as Dave Ramsey that listen to the feedback. Yeah, you'll get a survey. Hey, stay on the phone after here and take a short. But they're not fucking reading that. No. I mean, he listens.
And it means nothing, though. It means nothing. Like, you got people that are buying into something that is it's either a good thing or it's a bad thing. And me and you both agree it's a good thing. So if they're talking to you, they agree with certain fundamental principles of finance that you adhere to. And ultimately, those are good principles. So if they're ready to take that step and you take them to the next step, like, you're beyond invaluable. Like, and to me, that's the way I look at it. I'm like, okay, well, the best clients I have are all Ramsey influenced clients. In Canada, in Canada, no SmartVestor Pro, none of that, but they all adhere to those principles, whether they know it or not, by the way. Like, some of them are just doing the baby steps without actively doing them.
Well, because they're just doing books.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
All of it just comes down to reading those books, which are great. I need to buy more of those because I like to give them out to my financial planning clients, and I'm running low, so that reminds me.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph, how can people reach you if they have questions?
I'm all over the social medias. At Real Budget Boss is the handle. So that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can go to the website, budgetboss.ca. And CA is Canada. I know you're down in the States. And Joe at budgetboss.ca is the email. And I'm more than happy to talk to people about money, talk to people about debt, and talk to people about what they're up to in terms of trying to get their financial future better.
Yeah, we'll make sure to tag all of those. Definitely the Instagram handle, because we'll be putting highlights on Instagram. The full episode will be posted on Spotify and YouTube. I believe my Facebook page. I'm looking at my tech team over there. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but it'll be on them, and we will tag you as well.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for coming and staying up with me. I know it's late. I appreciate you.
It's okay. And you know what? Thank you for having me. And I've been following you for a while, so everyone who follows me needs to follow Kendall, because she's doing great things down in FLA.
FLA. All right, Joseph. Thank you. I'll talk to you later.